Hi everyone, my name is Irene Escorihuela. I'm director of Observatory ESCR, Economic, Social and Cultural Rights Observatory in Barcelona, Spain. And we basically defend social rights, economic, social and cultural rights, but especially social rights and especially the right to an adequate housing. And that's why we think that energy poverty and the right to energy are an important part of those kind of social rights. We have always defended that an adequate housing must have several components, as the General Observation number 4 of the ESCR Committee from the United Nations has established. Um, and having access to basic services, having access to electricity, water, basic supplies is an important part, a basic part of the right to an adequate housing. So that's why when we talk about rights and when we talk about energy, we truly think that it is a basic need for everyone to have an adequate standard of living, as we say when we talk about social rights. So, beginning from that point of view, from the human rights approach, um, here in Barcelona, we have to talk about social movements that have been defending um, the energy rights. And of course, we have to talk about the APE, the Alianza contra la Pobreza Energética. It's the Alliance Against Energy Energy Poverty. Sorry. This platform was born in 2014, and since then has been a very powerful tool at advocacy level, for example, but also organizing people affected by this kind of problem, by energy poverty, and has been able to change several laws. So in here, from Observatory Desk, we have been closely working together with them because we, as I say, we have some projects where the right to housing and the right to energy are linked, are together. In here in Spain, as you may know, we had a terrible situation after the 2008 economic crisis. We had a housing bubble, and it burst in 2008. So the following years, we had a huge wave of evictions. That's why hundreds of thousands of people got organized in basically several movements, but basically the platform against evictions, the PA, as you may know, because it's a very powerful social movement still today. It was born in 2009. And they tried to organize people that could not pay their mortgage anymore, but then in their assemblies, because the way they work is that they have collective advising, collective meetings, where the people explain their situation, they share their situation with other people about to lose their homes, and they try to help each other. In this kind of assemblies, they realized that there were people that could not pay their mortgage, they could not pay their rent, but they could not pay their bills either. They could not pay their electricity bills, their water supply, their gas. Um, and they decided to create a similar, let's say, a housing organization that started to meet in order to find solutions about that. That's how the APE was born in 2014, as I've said. And they have been they've been working closely with the PA because, as I say, they share activists, because there are people fighting for their home, but also fighting for their ability to pay their invoices, their bills. Um, in here, we find several situations. Of course, we have the situation when a family cannot afford the bill, and then this is a critical situation that when we say, or the APE say, that people should attend their assemblies and see what kind of advice could other people give. The way they work is that they try to give advice. They know, they have experience of how The people have won their cases, but when there is a stacked problem or something that cannot be solved, they go to the direct actions. They do demonstrations. They occupy. It has happened several times. They occupy the headquarters of, for example, Endesa or Naturgy, or the company, usually huge electrical or energy companies, in order to find a solution for the people that cannot pay their bills. So here the problem is, families cannot pay their bills, but then the huge problem comes when families, they do not pay their bills, and they have cuts, energy cuts. That's a vulnerability situation when you have no water, when you have no electricity, no heat, no light, no gas. You cannot cook, you cannot work at home, you cannot study, you cannot make a proper life, of course. So this is a basic human right, as I was saying before. And this is something that has to be solved. How did we decide to work against these cuts? The APE participated in a draft law we did in 2015. We were 3 organizations: the APE, the PA I was talking about, and also the Observatory ESCR organization. And we decided to create a law that would finally get some solutions for housing and energy poverty, because the government was not solving this. So we decided to describe the situation and find possible legal solutions. So we tried to stop evictions, but we also tried to stop these energy cuts. And at this point, the situation was, it's something particular because in Catalan, it was a Catalan law at the level of the parliament, and we don't have some of the competencies needed to regulate some part of the electrical market, etc., the supply market. But what we did was an important thing, is the precaution principle. What we said was, okay, when a family cannot pay their bill, the company, when they receive the unpayment, they cannot just cut the supply and stop providing water, electricity, or whatever. What they have to do is a consultation with social services, with the city council, and see if this family, this household, is vulnerable. In that case, you cannot cut the supply. So you have this precaution before cutting. You have this consultation, and in case the family is not vulnerable, so there may be other reasons why they do not pay the bill, the company can do the cut. But in the case it is a vulnerable household, it cannot be made. It has been working. We have stopped, thanks to this law, tens of thousands of cuts. It is very good news. We are very happy for that. But it is true that some of those companies that we cannot forget that they multiply their activity and their profit every year. Some of them, they do not apply the law, and there have been some fines, not enough in our opinion, but there have been some fines to say, hey, you have to apply the law and you cannot make cuts. So that's what we made at this point. And then there are several other issues I wanted to comment. An important, a crucial thing after not having the cuts is who pays for these bills that have not been paid. Our proposal was that the Catalan government, together with the companies, had an agreement saying that how they would face these unpayments. And our initial idea was, of course, the companies have to assume some of those bills because they are having huge profit and they are their vulnerable people, that they are their clients. So they should at least assume some of this cost, and maybe the administration can assume also part of this cost. But an agreement has been impossible until now. And what has happened is that basically city councils have been paying for these bills. So public money has been invested in paying those bills. So today, still, we are trying to have an agreement so that those companies can can assume the cost of the bills. And another important thing is that there have been a campaign of these companies going against the unpaid, against the households that have not paid their bills, saying that, listen, okay, we do not cut your electricity because we have this law, but you have a debt with us. And we don't want to assume this debt, and it is you, the family, that has to pay with that. So there has been an accumulation of debts, and there have been an attack, harassment from those companies to the vulnerable families, so that they pay their unpaid bills. So that's something the APE is working on. And just to end the intervention, I wanted to highlight the situation of vulnerable households that are occupying, that are squatting in big landlords' empty housing, and they do not have access to energy. They do not have access to electricity or water, and sometimes they have to have an irregular access, and this leads to really dangerous situations. And there have been some deaths in here in Catalonia because of that. Also because there is no because there is a cat and people has to light a candle, and there have been fires and deaths. So again, this is a question of human rights, and energy is a human right.